Alright, so I'm going to give you some things about science, and I'll leave you with language because personally I'm a student of language, of the Arabic language. I continue to be, and it is something that fascinates me. Of all the things that make me convinced of Quran, it's the language that just beyond anything else is very profound. It has a profound impact on me. I didn't get the time to animate this, so I'll just write I just wrote a quick clarification. The Quran is not a book of science. It is a book that has a very specific message. The specific message is to accept God not just as a divine being, but as someone who has direct control and impact over your life, to accept the moral principles that He delivers to you, to implement them in your life so that your worldly and otherworldly life are a success. And this is the basic message of the Quran, salvation. And it includes many unscientific statements. I mean, the Quran speaks of, I put some things in parentheses, but I mean, you know others, the unseen realm, another world, a world of angels and jinn. Jinn, I wouldn't want to call them demons for those of you who don't know what that is, but if you know the story of Aladdin, they use the word genie. It comes from the Arabic word jinn, and the story is an Arab legend. But the jinn is a creature we believe made of fire, like angels are made of light. And they're also creatures of choice, they can do right or wrong. That's another subject. And of course the hereafter is very unscientific. To believe in a day of judgment, to believe in a hellfire, to believe in a paradise. There's no empirical evidence to prove a paradise and gardens and, you know, eternal life and all this sort of stuff. And of course we eat, and in paradise we don't go to the bathroom, we sweat perfume. It's paradise, right? So very unscientific for someone who doesn't believe. Then we have to understand, why is this subject taking momentum in recent times, science and Quran? It is really because the Quran, by it I mean the Quran, speaks of Allah's creation with the intent of inspiring reflection on the creation's beauty. And reflection on the subtlety, the mechanics, the design, the technology of creation. The technology behind a single leaf, the symmetry involved. The advanced technology in a single cell or an atom, how precise that is, right? It wants people to reflect on the subtlety of Allah's design and Allah's creation. That's where these worldly phenomenon, creations of Allah or God are mentioned. And in later times, and this is the point that this is the one that hits the point home, the miracle is in the choice of words used or given to describe the creation. What I mean by that is, the Quran, I said before, is the literal word of Allah, meaning every word is divinely chosen. Arabic is unique because for any given word you have dozens of synonyms, dozens and dozens of synonyms, each with a slight difference, very slight difference. So you have, for example, 8 words for falling asleep. And the difference between all of them is, one of them is deep sleep, the other one is almost asleep, but your eyes are open but your mind's sleeping. The other one is you're sleeping but you can hear people. The other one is, and you're sleeping when you're sitting, you're sleeping when you're lying down. Different stages of sleep. Asleep with dreams in it, asleep without dreams in it. They've got a word for each of them. And I'm giving you a phrase for each of them. Asleep with something, asleep with something. Arabs have a word for each of these types of sleep. Arabs have a word for different types of, different ways to describe a farmer. They have a word for farmer when he's planting the seed. They've got a word for farmer when he's taking out the seed. They've got a word for farmer when he's watering the plants. And they're all used for farmer. But they're very specific about words. Very, very specific. And the miracle aspect that's now more recently being talked about is in the precision of the choices of words used to describe things you would almost think in passing. Meaning Allah is talking about something like, the creation of something. And just the way in which He talks about it in and of itself becomes uniquely miraculous. And I put some Arabic here, don't be intimidated. I'll tell you what that is. That's for me, not for you. Some simple examples. One interesting example is Surah Al-Hadid. And by the way, Sheikh Zanadani, who's a famous scholar in the Arab world, collects over 350 scientific phenomena in the Quran. But I'm not going to give you 350. I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just point you in the direction when we talk about Quran and science, what's it referring to. So this ayah says, وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدِ. Surah Al-Hadid is surah number 57 of the Quran. And Allah uses the word, we sent down iron. We sent down iron. Now, the thing of it is, Allah speaks about creating lots of different things in the Quran. But for all of them, He uses a verb called khalaqa, or to create. He created the heavens and the earth. He created life and death. He created, He created, He created. But when He speaks of iron, He didn't say He created it. He said, what did I say? He sent it down. He sent it down. And scholars of the past were grappling with this issue. Why? Because, the words of God are very precise. This is our belief. So when someone would argue, when He sent it down, He meant He created it. No, if He meant He created it, He would have said, He created it. He didn't mean that. He meant specifically that He sent it down. Right? And so you find, in the last century, in the 20th century, geologists coming to certain agreements about the beginnings of the earth. One of them being that iron is not part of the original earth. It actually came to the earth in the form of meteors and was buried deep into the core of the earth. Right? So the word used, iron, we sent down iron, becomes a very accurate depiction of the reality of iron because it was sent down. Another example is in Surah Al-Furqan, that's surah number 25. وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا سِرَاجًا وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. Allah speaks of things in the heavens and the earth that are at His disposal. تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا. Blessed is the one who placed in the sky stars. And then He says, وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا سِرَاجًا. And in the sky He placed, particularly for us, a lamp. He calls the sun a lamp in this case, siraj. وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. The words قَمَرًا مُنِيرًا are describing the moon. The word qamar means moon. But the word munir is the one that's really scientific, if you want to take it that way. The word munir means something given light. Something illuminated. Not something that gives off light, but something that is lit up by something else. Like this room is munir. This room is lit up because of the light. But the light itself is siraj. So there's the source of light and the recipient of the light. When He spoke of the sun, He called it a lamp. When He spoke of the moon, He called it a moon that reflects light. So at a time when this is not a known phenomenon, Allah is speaking of the moon as a body in space that doesn't give off its own light. Nowadays, obviously it's reflecting the sun's light. But picture yourself 1500 years ago saying that. It's not very obvious. Looks like it's giving off its own light. Right? But then it's the direct statement, وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. This third one is a cross between linguistic and scientific. I'll just mention the linguistic aspect of this very quickly because it's not a big deal. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the only people surrounding him were people of either idol worshipping people, atheists, Christians, and Jews. The Christians and Jews were the more knowledgeable people. The idol worshippers were not an intellectual people. They were Bedouins in the Arab society. Even the Christians and the Jews at the time believed that the earth was the center of the universe. Okay? And this ayah comes down and says that the beginning of the ayah, this is Surah Yasin, surah number 36. لَلشَّمْسُ يَنْبَغِي لَهَا أَن تُدْرِكَ الْقَمَرَ وَلَلَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ. And then this part, وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. The sun does not rebel its orbit that it may come before the moon. Neither does, and so that the day may be coming early, nor does the night come before the day, meaning they've got their appointed times. But in the beginning of the ayah, He's talking about light, the moon and the sun keeping their order, not coming out of their orbits. And then He talks about night and day not transgressing. When it's time for night, it's night. When it's time for day, it's day. And they don't transgress each other. They keep their limits. So far He's talking about the sun and the moon and the earth and time. Right? But then He says, وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. And all of them meaning the earth, the moon, and the sun. Because these are the three objects mentioned in the ayah. All of them are floating in their own orbits. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. All of them, falak means orbit, يَسْبَحُونَ to swim or to float. So all of them in their own orbits, they are floating. Now at the time, One belief was, the closer to scientific belief was, the sun is at the center of the universe. And yet Allah is going a step further at this time, 1500 years ago, and what's He saying? The earth has an orbit, the moon has an orbit, and the sun has an orbit. Right? Way ahead of its time. And this is the theme in scientific phenomena in the Quran. It's not talking about something so amazing to you now, but it's something to wonder that how is such an accurate depiction being given of a only lately discovered scientific phenomenon, or scientific phenomenon discovered much later to be mentioned in this text. And it's not something, again, this is not something that was boasted or talked about, or as soon as, for example, in Europe, there were other discoveries, Galileo and things like that. These discoveries did not lead Muslim scholars to say, aha, the Quran's been saying this all along. Because it was like, oh yeah, we knew that. The book says it already. It wasn't something, a big deal. And I'm saying that because the scientific is only a recent emphasis. We shouldn't go overboard with the scientific thing. I'm just mentioning some phenomena that are commonly talked about, but it's not necessarily something you constantly, push. Then there's of course the famous ayah about the heavens and the earth, which is the Arabic expression for the universe, heavens and the earth. كَانَتَا رَتْقًا. The word ratqan in Arabic means something that is fused and inseparable. Fused and inseparable. The word ratq was used when a mother is carrying a child, because the mother and the child are inseparable. And when she would start delivering, the other word was used, fataqa. Fataqa is the time for her to start parting. Literally her body is parting up and she's parting from her child. So the ayah says the heavens and the earth used to be fused and inseparable, and then we caused them to come apart. Meaning there was the universe in its original form was a fused, united body, some sort of matter, and then it became and spread out, and then the words used later on, it spread out far and wide. So it's close to, very close to, interestingly close to the Big Bang Theory. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the beginning of the heavens and the earth. And of course from the biological perspective there's the description of the embryo. I'm not going to go into that one because it's a nice PhD thesis. It's out from a professor, I think Mustafa Ahmed, who shows the correlation between the linguistic analysis of the ayah, the ayah that talks about the stages of the embryo versus modern science and how that's looked upon. But I'll give you one last one. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we made from water every living thing. The basis of life, water. Again, something stated way ahead of its time. Now I'm going to go to the part that I like to go over. The linguistic miracle of the Quran. This is hard for me to explain to people that don't know Arabic, but try to follow along with me. I'll try to make it as easy as I possibly can. This is the third ayah of surah number 74. Surah number 74, of course, is Surah Al-Muddathir. And it says, وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ, and declare the greatness of your Lord. What's unique about this ayah, the word wa, you notice the shape here and the shape here are the same? Right? For those of you who don't read Arabic, at least you could tell the shapes, right? This is sort of the Arabic symbol for the sentence beginning. In English you have the capital letter that starts off a sentence. In Arabic, among the many usages of the word wa, the letter wa, one of them is that it starts off a new statement. And what I've done here is I've separated the letters. See this shape over here? And that ending shape is similar, it's over there, right? And then this one's got a dot underneath it, and this one's got a dot underneath it. Right? And that one's got a dot underneath it, and this one's got a dot. So what I've basically done, in Arabic you merge the letters when you write them, but I've written them here in separated form. For those of you who know Arabic, what letter is this? Go on. What's the first letter? What's the last letter? What's the second letter? What's the last letter? Second last? Third one? Third last one? Find the middle. Declare the greatness of your Lord. Backwards and forwards the same way. Okay? Palindromes. Now, It's fun to make palindromes in any language.